Battle over land, rights, and enforcing a court order.
It's been quite a journey.
The conflict centers around the Winnemucca Indian Colony. It's several acres on the south end of Winnemucca. In December, more than a dozen residents who live there were told they had to leave their homes, where they've lived for decades.
Got my daughter's ashes spread there. So
Elena Loya lived in the house where her mother once lived. In fact, generations of her family have been there almost a half century.
my great-great-grandmother, Sally Cinnabar, she died on that colony. And my mother died actually in that house I live in.
The history of this land dates back to President Woodrow Wilson. He issued an executive order in 1916 allowing federal railroad land to be used for the Winnemucca Indian Colony. It was meant for homeless Paiute and Shoshone Native Americans. In the past few years, some of the people living on the land, like Jim Ayer, have been intertwined in a legal fight to stay there.
I lived there since 1980, and I'm at least 7 to 10 generations. I could chase my ancestry back to 1894.
Last December 2nd, the Winnemucca Indian Colony Tribal Court ordered that about a dozen residents had to leave. It's been a legal fight that's been going on since the 70s with numerous court battles. Colony attorney Norberto Cisneros explains why they're evicted. Why not just let these people live on the land? They've been there so long. Why now take it back?
The people that are on the land right now are not members of the Winnemucca Indian Colony and cannot trace their lineage back to the homeless 1960 Indians who were part of that 1916 base bill that we're talking about. In addition, many of them received federal funds from other tribes because they're other tribal members.
The evicted residents say the tribal council has no authority, saying they voted themselves in, but the court agreed with the board and upheld the evictions. The tribal court ordered that the residents be out by early December. They had a few days to get their belongings out of their homes, but anybody that returned to their residence after that were arrested by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Kyle, Missouri spent 6 days in jail after he tried to go back to his grandmother's boarded-up house where he also lived. BIA officers stopped him.
I wasn't saying anything. I was trying to call the court. And then I got wrestled down, and then they tased me, I think 2 or 3 times. The Winnemucca Indian Colony doesn't own that house. My grandmother owns that house. So she's the one who should authorize who can and cannot be there.
Residents say low-income elders who were evicted from the colony are living in this Motel 6.
This is just about humanity, basically. Why would you kick somebody out in the middle of winter, especially Winnemucca when it was snowing?
The colony has offered leases to some residents so they can stay.
The lease had a bunch of stuff that I couldn't even talk to certain residents, so I didn't agree with it. And they're like, you're going to have to move.
The colony boarded up some houses, bulldozed others, saying they were unsanitary and unsafe in some cases, and they paid to have some mobile homes moved.
It's not some heartless, middle of November, throw families out. No, this is a process that's been going on for years, and we have tried to work with them, but the response always comes, no, and you have no right to do what you do.
But this is hard for residents who still have many of their belongings inside their homes.
They said I was a terrorist. They said that I threatened the tribal council, and sure, I might have threatened those guys, but what is a guy going to do when they show up with loaders and start taking your campers and your fence and all your tools out of your garage? They got a court order to take everything out of your yard but your house.
A giant fence around the colony's homes, and the court order keeps evicted residents out.
It crushed me.
Kim Burrows, News
For that tribal council.
It's a battle over land,